Hey everyone, J3 here, and welcome to the Freelancing Your Way to Freedom Masterclass. And today I'm very excited for you because we have a very special guest. He runs a Facebook group of over 100,000 members. And this is the Facebook group Freelancers in the Philippines. And not only that, he has personally helped over 1,000 Filipinos land jobs online. Imagine that. And he has a 75% success rate on his trainings, that when someone completes his training, there is a 75% chance that this person will be able to land a job. Now, most trainers out there, they don't even track the success of their students. They just sell. But this guy is so passionate with what he does, and that's probably one of the reasons why he is regularly invited to speak at conferences and panels. And one of the biggest of which has been the event of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. The event is called BISCON, Philippine Impact Sourcing Conference, and he was one of the trainers there. And so I am just confident that you guys are in for a treat today. You're gonna learn so much from this guy. Please help me welcome, wherever you're tuning in from and watching in from, please help me welcome Mr. Jason Dulay. Jason, thank you very much for agreeing to be on this masterclass.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me, J3. It's an honor to be here. I know that you've got a lot of people in your group who want to explore freelancing, and well, you've already introduced me. Thank you. Thank you for the mentioning those accolades. But yeah, I'm just here to help educate Filipinos. Our goal is to improve Filipino lives through freelance education. So that's what we're trying to do. And I'd love, your group is they're Filipinos, right? I mean, they're like 99% or 100%.
Yeah. 100% Filipinos. So, game. Let's start. If you could just tell me a quick intro on like your story on how you got started.
So I started exploring freelancing back in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
I was working in the call center at that time, and I was a corporate trainer.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really see any room for growth, actually. So my biggest, like in Cebu, I know, like when we train people, some of the biggest factors or the biggest pain points for them, is the traffic. But I live in Cebu, so the traffic's not that bad, but it's getting worse, unfortunately. At that time, it was like I had no room for growth. I was tired.
Mm-hmm.
I was bored, so I was looking for something on the side then. So I heard about, itong working online. I heard about people making money online, aside from selling things,
Mm-hmm.
selling mango float or whatever online. So I found out about Odesk. Okay, there are people, there are these small businesses who are hiring people around the world to do different stuff for them, different stuff that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, okay, what can I offer? I know a few skills. I went to college. I know how to use a computer. So what can I offer? I thought, okay, well, I know about Microsoft applications. I'm pretty good with computers. I know how to do searches in Google, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also do bookkeeping. So those are kind of the first few things that I wrote in what we call our profiles, like a resume online. Diba?
Okay. So you call it your profile, your resume online.
Yes,
okay.
We call it the profile. And so I wrote there, I can help you with these different things and so on. And then I saw jobs online for, well, not really jobs, but projects. Let's say projects now. Okay. I need help doing this in Excel. I need help setting this up in setting up my bookkeeping, QuickBooks, to do those kinds of things. So I applied for those jobs. And surprisingly, people paid me money. They sent money via it went through PayPal. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to get it in my bank account. So I was very happy. When I started, I was earning like $5 an hour, which is a lot of money. Well, back then it was a lot of money when I first started out. And then I just did it on the side while I was in the call center.
So when you were starting out, when you were in the call center, like the skills were totally different Like what you were doing from the call center, it was different from your first jobs online.
Well, when I was in the call center, we actually worked with QuickBooks.
Okay. Bookkeeping related then.
Bookkeeping related.
Okay.
So it was kind of related. And I think like anybody who has call center experience, they usually deal with software. Like I also did some call center work in JP Morgan, and then I learned some things about banking. Which can be applied to US banking. So there are these things that we pick up along the way that it can be used with online freelancing. At that time, I got promoted. I was a senior trainer. I got 50K a month, which is a pretty decent amount of money. And but on the side, freelancing, I was earning 30K. That is. Yeah.
Okay, so napagsabay mo.
Oh, napagsabay ko yung dalawa.
Okay.
But eventually, I got tired of working corporate, working the night shift. I was getting sick because my body was because we
was giving out.
I was giving out because of the sleep schedule.
Okay.
So I quit, and then at the same time, I thought, hey, why don't I go to Singapore? So I went to Singapore for a year just to explore it. And I was still doing freelancing on the side. I eventually learned more about freelancing. And the work I did there, I was able to learn a little bit about creating websites, online marketing. After that, I went to the US. I'm kind of fast forwarding here, but I went to the US. And I was able to do freelancing there then. The difference was I was freelancing not as overseas, because here we're freelancing overseas. My clients natin are in the US, the UK, Canada, and so on. So in the US, I was able to freelance meeting clients in person.
Oh, okay.
Also there, I met the freelance community. Because in the Philippines, we didn't really have a strong freelance community back in the day.
Back then.
Yeah, ngayon we have, like you said, our Facebook groups over 100K, we have meetups and so on, but back then wala pa. But the culture there is still very different when it comes to freelancing. Kasi, right? Like here, even right now, freelancing is still something that most people don't see as legit work pa. It's like, scam ba yun or something like that.
Yeah.
Captcha or online selling.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear associated with the online work pa.
Yeah. So it's still, for most people, it's still a question mark. But in the US, it's kind of accepted na, like for a small business owner, if they want a website, they approach a freelancer.
Okay.
So the culture there, I saw how people work there, the freelancers work there. And when I came back to the Philippines, I realized the expenses were a bit high in the US. And then, I wanted to come back home. So I went back home. The good thing though, because I learned the best practices of freelancers in the US. So when I came back home, I still applied those same best practices. Was able to get more clients using those same things I learned. And that's kind of the culture I wanted to bring to the freelance community in the Philippines.
I see.
When people, I guess that's my freelance story, and it transitions over to me to founding of the VA Bootcamp then.
There's one aspect of your story that I'm a little curious about, and that's the digital nomad part. Na I know you traveled a few countries na talagang freelancing yung nagsusustain sa'yo. So could you tell us a little bit about that? Kasi it speaks about the power of the freedom that freelancing can give you.
So yeah, I kind of fast forwarded that part, diba? But yeah, I've been able to travel. Well, I said Singapore, the US. I've also been able to on the freelance income. I've been able to go to Malaysia, to Hong Kong, to Thailand, and then before I started the boot camps, Europe. Then I was able to travel to Rome, to Paris.
So it offers kasi a different perspective on traveling. Like most people, they travel and just stay there for like 2 weeks maximum kasi naubusan na ng leaves. But when you're a freelancer, like you have the freedom of staying there until your 90 days. Well, in case of Europe, diba? Like 90 days in visa. So you just enjoy the time
Yeah, I spent 1 month in Budapest, like I think almost a month in Italy, and then you were like traveling between Paris, Greece, and some other places.
So you've told us about these travels, and it's amazing right now that you're helping other Filipinos do the same and achieve that same level of freedom that freelancing can give you. So let's talk about more about the opportunity. I know you started with bookkeeping as an entryway. Is that the only path? Like for people who are uh, for people who are working right now, what types of jobs are there? Is it really just bookkeeping? Parang what's the work in online work?
So, and this is the challenge of most people when they think about, I want to earn dollars online, because with freelancing you can earn dollars online. We have students who earn 6 digits a month online.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is like, how do I start? What skills do I offer? I don't know. I don't really know what I can do. Um, well, what we teach is becoming a virtual assistant.
Okay.
So, and that's where what we recommend mostly is you start off being a virtual assistant. The reason for that is it's the most common entry point into online freelancing.
Okay.
Because it's mostly kind of an all around, a generalist, like in college. About your first 2 years, usually you're taking general subjects.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so something like that. You're kind of the generalist before you really find out what area you want to focus in. So
Mm-hmm.
in like an RVA bootcamp, we teach internet research, using office applications, emails, schedules, social media, websites, and so on. So these are skills that no matter what field you eventually specialize in, um, they're going to be useful. So
Okay.
the different kinds of jobs, like VA is the number one entry point.
Okay.
But if example, if I'm talking to somebody and if that person has existing skills that can translate into online work, pwede din yun. Like if they know graphic design, if they know website development or application development,
Mm-hmm.
those are some skills that can translate online. Otherwise, what I'd recommend is really starting as a virtual assistant, and those are mostly administrative tasks.
Okay.
Number one, they can be learned pretty quickly. Let's say in around a month. That's like our training runs around a month, and it's not too technical, naman. It's not too technical
Mhm.
to do these tasks.
Okay. So you mentioned a little bit about the VA is the generalist, but you can also specialize.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to like the potential income you can earn, what does it look like for a VA versus someone who says specialize in this specific niche na kunwari, email marketing, which is this obscure skill na rare.
I'd say in general, most VAs, most full-time VAs, they earn around 30K, I'd say.
Okay.
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 Um, which is a decent amount. And a lot of freelancers, and some can even hit like 50, 60, 80K focusing on VA work. I've
Okay.
known a VA who earned 100K then, pero those are kind of more the exception than the rule. Uh, so a lot of people are okay with that, and they stop there. They say, okay, I'm okay earning 50K a month. That's enough for me. That's enough for my family.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to complicate my life by specializing in a certain field. Diba? Parang, okay,
Okay.
but if ever you do specialize, let's say in email marketing, and it's something that's high demand.
Mhm.
So anything around the marketing fields, around the programming fields, or any niche skill that you
Mhm.
can become an expert in, I'd say that you can really
Mhm.
specialize in, then that's when you can kind of go up you can more easily hit the 100K mark,
Mhm.
100K a month. There are
Okay.
those who earn multiple 6 digits, but that's kind of those are once again the exceptions. Um,
Mm.
I'd say a good amount is a good like realistic, like a lot of people can hit. Of course, we can say okay, 100K, 200K, 300K. Some people can hit that, but if we're looking at the majority of people,
Mhm.
like I said, VA around 30K, specialized maybe around 50, 60K.
About 50. Okay.
Yeah, 50, 60K a month is like something that's within reach. That's within reach for most people.
Okay. So it's like the same analogy, I guess, would be like sabihin natin call center agent. That's the general entry point. Parang the call center agent will somehow earn less than the doctor or the lawyer kasi they're more specialized
Yeah,
just in terms of the skill. So ganun din dito. The VA is the entry point, and then if you want to specialize to earn more, you can catering to specific skills you already have. What's the usual steps, major steps that someone has to take from having zero experience in online freelancing to slowly shifting and then going on to later on full-time freelancing? Ano yung process na yan? What are the stages?
Well, I'd say there are different routes that you can take.
Okay.
What I would recommend first and foremost is to kind of test the waters while you're still working. Okay, you talk about being fiscally responsible, diba?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to. Well, a lot of people are successful. What they do is they want to go all into freelancing. So one route is that they save an emergency fund. Which is 3 months to 6 months of monthly expenses, and then they quit their job, and then they go all into freelancing. So they from quitting their job, they take all their time studying whatever skills they need, putting their all into it, because they don't have work anymore. And a lot of people who do this are the ones who can't afford to do what I did, which is work corporate and do freelancing on the side. So those that have those that have jobs that work really long hours, those that have a lot of responsibilities, maybe taking care of the kids, so on, that doesn't allow them the time to do 3 hours a day, 2 hours a day to do something on the side. That's one route a lot of people take, or some people take. But if possible, what I would recommend is do it on the side muna. Test the waters muna. And see if it's something that you like. Because freelancing isn't for everybody. That's what I'm going to say. Freelancing isn't for everybody. So test the waters muna on the side. So if you can learn more, number one, find out what skills, do an inventory of your skills and see if it's something that you can offer online. And if it's you're not totally comfortable yet, not totally confident yet, or you see, okay, I lack certain skills area, then you can do trainings. There are free trainings, or if you want something more structured, you can enroll in paid trainings, just to get your skills, up to date.
Okay.
And up to snuff for whatever the needs of these online business owners are, and then learn about.
Wait, before we go to the next step, I think I'd like to raise an important point here, that the first step is really, it's not directly translating the skills that you have into the online world, but it's a matter of looking at the skills that you have, checking what they're looking for in the online world, and then augmenting your current skills. So hindi pwedeng kung ano ako ngayon, take me in this online job. You have to transform yourself. You have to be ready to learn new things, so that you can fit what jobs are available online.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you for emphasizing that point, because we can't just expect to say, okay, ganito ako, and then business owner, ikaw na bahala, basta this is who I am, and then you have to cater to me. But it's not like that.
Biology inaral ko, so give me work about bees and stuff, or I don't know. So okay,
it's exactly what we do is look at what the demands are. We have to first see what do these online business owners need, and where do I lack in. So that's the skills inventory. Find out what you need to learn, and then fill in the blanks as necessary.
Okay. So once you have identified that and filled in the training gaps, if ever meron, so what's the next step?
So the next step, I'd say, is find out how things are online.
Okay.
So the reason I'm saying this is because it's a big transition, switching from offline to online work or corporate to online work. it's not just the skills. It's not just, and this is why I also don't recommend jumping into a complex field immediately. Okay, so like for example, I'm working in a call center, and then all of a sudden I want to learn about funnel marketing, funnel optimization. That's a huge jump. That's a huge jump, not only in skill, but because I'm going from offline to online work. So there's a really big difference. There are a lot of different disciplines that you have to master, and the mindset, the shift is pretty big. So find out how things work online. You're gonna have to make some adjustments. Find out like the best practices you can, follow. Like we interview successful freelancers every week, so you can learn about them. You can follow our interviews there. You can stalk different freelancers online just to get an idea of how things work online, what the life of a freelancer is, and then you can start creating your profile from there, and then start applying to jobs. So I'd say that's kind of the second major step.
Okay. So you should take your time in exploring, learning about what other people are doing, and then that's the time you create your profile and looking for jobs. Okay. Yeah. Now, when it comes to the first job, like, are there any notes to take note of there? Like, should you aim to get paid this much, or should you be willing to work for free, or how does that go?
Good question. So when you your first job, you shouldn't be looking to earn money. I mean, of course you want to earn money, but money isn't the goal with your first job. It's the experience that you should get first. So focus more on getting experience, of learning the ropes. Now, this is how things work online. And then once you get used to it, once you get comfortable with it, that's when you can start looking at increasing your earnings. And we're a little impatient. We want to earn a lot of money right away, but if you do that, you might just crash and burn, because I demand to get paid 50,000 pesos for this. So first, get more experience, and if you're looking in, I guess, the most popular online platform like Upwork, or even if you're not working on Upwork, you want to gain either, like in Upwork, you get ratings. You get rated, like in Lazada or Amazon, you get ratings. Try to get your ratings up, or otherwise, at least try to get what we call a portfolio.
Oh, okay.
So itong portfolio, this is kind of your sample of work. For example, if you're looking for, let's say, a wedding photographer, you're
okay.
Get married, you're looking for a wedding photographer, of course, you're going to want to see their past work. Di pwede na, okay, I want to be your wedding photographer. I can't show you any of my past work, but I'll do a great job. You can't rely on my word. If it's like that, what you want to see is, okay, what past pictures do I have? What weddings have I worked on? So you want to have that portfolio that you possibly show clients. So building your reputation, aside from just learning the ropes and learning how things work, building that reputation and gaining what we call portfolio items to add to your portfolio, is your first priority.
Okay. I forgot to ask this question. No? How many hours do you need to get into this part-time? Is there a minimum?
There's no minimum really. So if we think of in terms of hours, so let's take a look at how jobs are structured in the online world.
Okay.
So there are two main categories of jobs. Okay, there are hourly jobs and there are fixed rate jobs.
Okay.
Hourly jobs are when you're paid by the hour.
Okay.
Fixed rate jobs are where you're paid to finish a task or finish a project.
Okay.
So one example of fixed rate jobs is a client's going to give you handwritten notes, for example, handwritten notes in a PDF, and then what he needs you to do is to translate it into Microsoft Word.
Okay.
That's one project, and then there's a specific price depending on how many pages.
Okay.
So there's a fixed price for that, and there's usually a deadline. So it doesn't matter how long it takes you. It doesn't matter what hours you work. You can work whatever time you want, as long as you're able to submit the work by the deadline.
Okay.
So these are the fixed price jobs.
Okay.
The hourly jobs are more of you work a X number of hours. And I'm kind of, breaking this into two very major groups. And of course, there are some crossovers in between, but we're just looking at these two things.
Okay.
The hourly jobs, when an example is if you are, most basic example, if you're answering calls for a small business owner.
Okay.
Work, let's say 2 hours from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Okay.
You're kind of like their front desk receptionist where you answer questions or you forward calls to somebody else.
Okay. Okay. But when it comes to the hourly jobs, is it always fixed hours, or are there hourly jobs like, as long as you're doing the work at this time, or?
It's not always fixed hours. So there are, those are just like the two, I kind of simplified it into those two categories.
Okay.
But in hourly jobs, there can also be jobs where it doesn't matter what time you work. If you, for example, you're a virtual assistant.
Okay.
And so remember earlier, I gave an example of the handwritten notes that you translate into PDFs.
Okay.
So you translate into Microsoft Word, right? So that's a lot of the times that's a fixed job, a fixed rate job. So let's say $20 for that job.
Okay.
So like 1,000 pesos. But on the other hand, that can also be, that's a possibility to be an hourly job, or a job wherein as a virtual assistant, a client will give you different tasks, and that can be one of the tasks.
Okay.
The client says, hey J3, I'm hiring you as my virtual assistant. Normally, you're going to check email. You're going to just check my emails, reply to emails, which you can do any time of the day, but you reply to them within 24 hours. And then sometimes I'm going to give you other work. And one example of this other work could be the handwritten notes that he wants you to do Microsoft Word.
Okay.
So you're being paid by the number of hours you're working. So sometimes, because like, let's say you're answering emails. Sometimes he just has a few emails. So today you just spent 1 hour because he only has like 20 emails, and you can do all that in an hour. The next day, he has 50 emails. So you spend 2 hours, and ikaw na bahala what time you're working those hours. And the next day gives you a PDF that he wants, the handwritten notes he wants to translate into Word. So maybe you're working 4 hours, or you're doing 2 hours today, 2 hours tomorrow. So it can vary. There's a lot of variation in between these two categories.
I see. Okay. Good to know. So my next question here is, when we talked about the building the portfolio portion, is there a chance that your offline experience from your previous employers, let's say you worked, say, 5 years, 10 years in marketing for these huge corporations, and is there a chance for you to translate that into your online portfolio? Does it matter to employers that, hey, this guy worked at so and so corporation?
That's an interesting question. It might matter, it might not matter in some cases. So to just to add more detail on that, if you're, this is where a lot of people get confused. That they think, okay, I worked as I'm trying to think of an example.
Say engineer.
I worked as
chemical engineer.
Chemical engineer. Okay, that's a good example. And right now, I'm applying to be a virtual assistant for any just general companies.
Okay.
So if you're talking to, let's say, a car sales company, and say, I used to be a chemical engineer, then the car sales companies will say, I don't care. I don't care you were a chemical engineer before. He won't care about your past experience as a chemical engineer. Pero if you're applying to like a biotech company, of course that's going to be something that's relevant. For them, they're going to care that you were a chemical engineer before. So your past experience, I'd say only mention. You can kind of mention it, but don't really focus on it, and only focus on it if it's something that's relevant to the job that you're applying for. One funny example is, a lot of time, because we teach our students, and then we guide them through their what we call cover letters, application letters to
Okay.
jobs, and fake interviews, mock interviews where we pretend to be a company interviewing them. And a lot of the times, when they're still new to it, they say, I was a graduate in AB history. Ganun. So sometimes because we're used to that when we apply to jobs like the call center and so on. And I'm a graduate of AB history and so on. Pero in the online world, I don't care if you're a graduate of AB history. What does that have to do with the job that you're doing for me right now? Unless unless it's a company related to history somehow.
Okay.
So that's when you're kind of weighing: do I include my previous experience, my previous job experience, for the stuff I'm doing right now? When it comes to specific portfolio, in most cases, we don't have, in most jobs, we don't really have portfolios. And it's kind of tough because if we do, for example, if we have bookkeeping portfolios, we can't really share
confidential info.
Confidential info that we had with put it, okay, this is the company, ABC company, this is their financials.
Okay. So in a nutshell on this topic, like certifications don't matter.
Only if they're relevant. If they're relevant, they matter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If they're relevant to the industry and to the company, they matter. But in general, you don't need anyone to certify you, like saying, hey, this person knows social media.
Yeah. And that's when, because we're so used to the thought na you have to be a college graduate. Even to work in the SM department store, you have to be a college graduate, diba? But in the online world, most of the time, people don't care about your degree. So there's always, we hear that all the time. Pwede ba ko dyan? I'm not a college graduate. Of course, pwede ka dito. As long as you either have the skills or you can learn the skills, you can still do it. Your past education doesn't matter. Like your college degree doesn't matter at all. What matters is that you can do the job. So no matter what age you are, what background you have, what gender you are, and all that, it doesn't matter as long as you can get the job.
Okay, so let's get back to the big phases. So first phase, it's taking the skills inventory of yourself, just exploring and learning. Next part of it is maybe setting up your profile and looking at your jobs. Then finally getting your probably your first job to hopefully build, to earn some money, gain experience, and build up your portfolio. What's next after that? How do freelancers scale from this first job to the next one to eventually resign? What's next?
So some freelancers, they're okay with stopping at the stage. They're earning 30K a month. They're okay with that. Because at this point, even though you don't have a very strong portfolio, and even though you don't have that much feedback from the past, it's easy to earn 30K a month. But then if you want to kind of go to the next level, that's when you niche, what we call niche, or focus in a certain area.
Okay.
Wherein, I choose this to go into Facebook ads, or graphic design, or into content writing, whatever it is. There's so many possibilities that you can focus on, but specializing in one area will net you more earnings than being a generalist in the long run.
Okay. I just thought of this question. Say you're someone who's a developer. And so you already have the skills, but you've been working for this tech company in the Philippines. And is the advice there, or let's say you're a graphic designer. So that's already a specialization in the online world, right? So if you're already a specialist in the offline world, should you enter this? Should you try going for online work as a VA, or immediately jump into specialized work as an online? Yeah. I think you get the question.
Yeah. So if you have past experience, you have existing skills, then you may be able to already just jump in using those skills and focus on niche. So you're kind of the exception where you don't need to be a generalist first.
Okay.
unless you want to explore other fields. If you're a developer and you're tired of writing
Of
programs,
coding, yeah. Okay.
you go back to being a generalist.
Okay, okay. Nice, interesting. Okay, so once you specialize, and let's assume that this person is already earning like 50, 60, they keep on learning, going up to 100, 150, they become the exception, 150, onwards. When do you think is the right time to sort of resign and go at it full time? What are the signals for
Yeah,
that?
so we kind of skip that step. I would do it. I'd say most people around when they hit the 30K mark or right before that, they've already resigned because of the amount of effort it takes to maintain like a job, diba? To you do this and focus on it. You'd have to, in most cases, resign from your corporate job. Once you start, and when's that point? Okay. Once you can see yourself doing this like in the long term, then I'd resign. Even if you're still earning 10K, you can. What most people realize is that ang dali pala dito, I can easily earn 10K. I can easily scale up to 20, 30, 40, 50K a month. So now I'm earning 10K on the side. I'll resign and focus on this more. If I focus on this more, I'll be able to dedicate the time to reach my target earning goal.
I
That's
see.
kind of like a couple of steps behind. Sorry, I skipped that earlier.
Yeah, it's okay. But so it's interesting to note that it's different in the sense of starting a business, because when you're starting a business, you can't just resign and go full time on it if it's earning 10 to 20K. You're living on a lifestyle of 80K. But it's interesting to note that in freelancing it happens because you're more in control of your income.
Yeah. Versus business, I'd say you are more in control of your income because you can scale. In the thing is with freelancing, I guess if we're talking about the difference between business and freelancing, and I guess a lot of your audience are kind of this relevant for them because they're kind of deciding which route they want to take. No, with freelancing, it's a lot easier for you to go from 10 to 30, 40, 50K because you can see, okay, I'm putting 2 hours a day now, earning 10K. If I put in 8 hours a day, then I'll earn a lot more because I can get more work from more clients. Whereas in business, diba, there are ups and downs that we don't see, but the scale can be like 10x, 20x, but the risk is also higher. So there's that balance. That freelancing, the risk is lower because if you put in more work, you earn more. The rule is there's that really the relationship na pare-pareho. If you put in more work, you earn more. I forgot that term.
Correlation?
Yeah, there's a correlation, but there's that relationship.
Okay.
There's a correlation there.
Okay.
Whereas in business, it's not always that.
Yeah, there's a lag. Okay. Those are nice differences. So with freelancing, you have a direct correlation with the time you put in to the money you can get. In business, there's a lag wherein you put in lots and lots and lots of efforts. It's possible for you not to see anything, but you have to keep putting on the effort until your business scales. So now we're at the point of, say, this person is already earning 80K and so on. Now they want passive income. I know some freelancers are earning already passive income. Can you tell me more about that? That from a job, it starts becoming a business that can give you passive income.
Yeah. So this is when they transition into a business. Once you're earning, and some people do this earlier. Some people do it at the 50K mark.
Okay.
That are transitioning into a business. Some do it at the 100K mark. They start transitioning to a business. But the most common cause, I'd say, of people transitioning from freelancing into the business of freelancing is either number one, they can take on too much work, but there's there's such a demand for their skills that they can't do it by themselves. So that's when they have to hire other people and outsource other people, and then they start an agency where they start with one person, and a couple of years later they have 20 people now on their payroll. That's one route, and we've seen a lot of students do that. The other route is when they are really business minded and then the most common way that they, I'd say, there's a term, productize their service. So
Okay.
productizing their service is when they turn their services into like a product package. Now, okay, there's a flat rate of this I'll do this for you for $500 a month, and then you can easily scale. It's kind of like, just instead of thinking it like a service, it's kind of just buying a product for the business owner. It's a
Mm.
productized service, and then they can offer it to multiple businesses, and then they can maintain it however they want. Whether they start an agency, they do it on their own, and in some cases they can even do it. They can not 100% passively, of course. There's some maintenance to be had, but they can easily scale and get 10, 20 clients
Okay.
without putting the without having to correlate the hours. So for, let's say, 5x more hours, they can get 20x more income.
Okay, okay. So, just to give an example on this productizing, tama ba yung naisip ko na example na, say, you're a graphic designer and businesses are asking you for templates for their homepage. And so, when you productize your service, it all of a sudden becomes, you create this template that you now sell to business owners. Or
But
say this plugin or this app
yeah,
that you now sell to business owners. And you're just maintaining this app, but it's catering to a ton of other people that you're not making work from scratch all the time.
yeah. That's one way to do it. You have the template and you make just tweaks. Either you sell it as a template, or
Mhm.
you make tweaks for each business. For you, it just takes 30 minutes more
Mhm.
to customize it for a business, but the business owner is paying like the full amount, the same amount as they would if you were gonna do it from scratch.
Mm. Okay, nice. So this is very interesting. I didn't know that there were like two paths that you could build out an agency, hire more people, so you could get more work, handle more work, and the other one is more of starting to leverage your skills by turning it into a product
Mhm.
that you offer. Nice. So I think we covered the entire spectrum from how you go from from having a full-time job offline to having this small thing online and then scaling it and then it becomes your full-time work and then later on becomes a business wherein you can earn passive income.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, did we cover everything? I think so.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, nice. So Astig. Now let's get into the most common misconceptions and the most common errors that people make when they get into this.
Okay, so I'd say the most common misconceptions. Number one is that they need to be a techie to start
Okay.
freelancing, because you're working on a computer, so there's that misconception that they have to be technically inclined.
Mhm.
Whereas that's not really the case. Number one, I really believe that anyone can learn the skills. You
Mhm.
don't, well, if you want to become a programmer, that's a different story. You do need to be technically inclined. But if you want to offer eventually virtual assistant skills, or virtual assistant services, or even writing services, or things like that, which are not very technical, you can learn the enough tech capabilities to be
Mhm.
able to offer your service online.
Okay.
So you don't need to be technically inclined. Another common misconception is I need to have perfect English in order to be successful online.
Mhm.
Yes, English helps. English can help you a lot, but to get started, you don't need to be perfect in English or even very good in English. There are those that are able to even earn 100K who struggle communicating in English, but their
Mhm.
skills the reason they're able to earn a lot is because their skills are at that point, or at that level where they get paid for their skills.
Mhm.
So even if you're getting started, you can still offer your services, even if you're not an expert. Okay, you can offer your
Okay.
services and not be somebody who has perfect English. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh, Other misconceptions are we covered this earlier, but when it comes to your education, you don't need to be a college graduate. You don't need to be. you don't need to be between the ages of 20 to 40, which some people think,
Mhm.
oh, I'm too old to do that. I'm already 50 and 60 and so on. As long as you can do the job, it doesn't matter. Okay, all
Mhm.
these things really don't matter.
Okay, okay. So in general, it's really like no, you don't need permission.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't, you don't need permission from this third party saying that, hey, you can do this. Hey, this is you're certified to work as a VA and so on. Right? Okay. Oh, what's the biggest thing that stops freelancers from succeeding?
That's a good question. What's the
Uh,
big?
like let's compare it with because you have like 3,000 plus students already. So if we compare like the best students
Mhm.
with those that fail to get results,
Okay.
what's the biggest observable difference that you see with them?
Okay. So I'd say because it's not skill. It really isn't skill, despite what other people may think that it's skill. I'd say the biggest difference is attitude. It's perseverance and determination.
Mm-hmm.
Though I've seen skilled students who give up after a month. They're not hired, so they give up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen less skilled students who persevered, who've gone through challenges. It took them a longer time, but they still persevered. They still pursued, I guess, the dream of becoming a freelancer, and they were able to become successful um, because of their attitude,
Mm-hmm.
because they persevered, because they worked hard. Um, freelance jumping into anything new is tough. Especially the first few months, are going to be tough. But what's going to separate those that are successful, that those are not, from those that are not, is the attitude that you bring to the table, and I'd say discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline is very important. The discipline to because we usually like if you go through the courses, like if you go through like our VA bootcamp or whatever course, or you read all these articles online, we already know what the steps are to be successful. You know, or your members, diba? You give them a lot of information. Just for example, in your case, diba, you teach them about fiscal responsibility, diba?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the major things that you focus on. So they know the steps to get to where they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But what's stopping them is discipline.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, it's really discipline that's stopping them. And the same thing in freelancing. You
Mm-hmm.
know what steps you're gonna know what steps will make you successful. But what stops most people is the discipline to maintain it. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
just like with a diet, I know that I shouldn't, buy frappuccino or buy ice cream or whatever. I really want it. Oh, that's when you lose.
You gain X pounds.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Great. Nice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now you've been giving us so much value here. You've given us the big picture, the steps, what to look out for, the common misconceptions. Uh, Now let's talk about your programs and what what are the next best steps for people who who are thinking right now that, hey, I like this Jason Dulay guy, and he's teaching. I want to learn from him. How can people learn from you?
so I'd say if we have a Facebook page. Are you going to provide links, or
Yeah, so you can all of the links I'll be posting in somewhere below this video once we post process and edit it. And yeah, but can you tell us where you suggest people start and uh, what your programs are for people who are interested?
so JT is going to provide the links, I guess, down below. But we do have a Facebook page, we have a Facebook group. If Facebook's not your thing, we also have a YouTube page. We also have a website.
Okay,
I'd say
what are the names of these?
um, so the Facebook group is Freelancers in the Philippines by JT.
Okay,
My name's
yeah,
actually
the
VA
flip.
page. Yeah, Flip Freelancers in the Philippines.
Mhm.
Um, on YouTube, we have to change the name on YouTube to VA Bootcamp because it's still the old name, Work from Home Roadmap.
Okay,
But yeah, I guess the
yeah.
channel ID is going to be there. But when you via our website vabootcamp.ph, But if you're starting out, I guess the first thing you should do is check out our free VA course. So
Okay. Oh, you have a free VA course.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Called freevacourse.com. So that's the website.
Nice. Okay, so I'm gonna put the links there as well.
Yeah, freevacourse.com, because that kind of gives those that go who really don't have any idea about freelancing. It gives them the kind of the steps in order to get an idea of how to get started. So that's freevacourse.com. That's our number one starting point that a lot of people find useful. And from there, what most people do is they start watching the interviews. We have our Just Success interviews, which we do every Wednesday, and we have an archive of over 100 interviews already. So,
interviews with existing freelancers.
Interviews with successful freelancers.
Nice. Okay. So guys, if you're watching this, I highly recommend that you watch those, because when you're venturing into anything, one of the first steps that I always give is find someone who is doing what you want to do and learn from them. And it's great that you have these interviews already, because it's going to save you a lot of time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And there are so many there's a huge variety of stories there. We have a teenager who never went to college. We have Mamu Liberty, who already has grandkids. We have there's so many people who
from all backgrounds.
Yeah, so many different backgrounds there. So you can definitely find a story that's similar to yours. If you check those 100 plus. I'm not sure what number we are at right now, but
yeah, you've been at it for like the past years, just going on and on.
I don't think we've hit 200 yet, but we're getting there. So yeah, those interviews, I'd say are number two. And then from there, it's up to you. You can continue to. We have our free courses. We do free webinars, free crash courses every couple of weeks. And if you want the guided stuff, that's in the VA bootcamp. That's when you enroll. If you want guidance, the coaching, and so on.
Yeah. So for people who are more serious and more committed to this, check out vabootcamp.com.
.ph.
.ph. vabootcamp.ph. I'll just put the links below so we're not confused. Okay. So go there, because if there's a huge difference. I know that us trainers, we like to give out as much value as we can for free, but there is always this huge 10x difference when you start actually enrolling into the courses, because you get the step-by-step training. And I'm pretty sure Jason has all of the information of what you're going to get inside when you go to the link for VA Bootcamp, which is going to be below this video. Now, Jason, last na to. Can you share your favorite student story? One na pumasok, nag-enroll, just a favorite.
We have so many different stories. But I guess when this is an early story, one of them that stuck with me was when I got an email from a student who shared her story. Before she started, she used to sleep on mga carton, the carton, the boxes, carton boxes.
Okay.
A carton boxes. She and her family, yung anak niya, they used to sleep on carton boxes. And then they just buy instant noodles, because that's what they could afford. And when she started, she was able to borrow a laptop, I think, from her neighbor. And then she learned about freelancing, and now she has her own laptop. She no longer needs to sleep on the floor. She's able to buy food for her family, and so just that big jump from sleeping on the floor on garden boxes to having a real livable house, having a bed, having real food. That's a story that stuck with me.
Yeah, you've made a real difference, Jason. And thank you so much for sharing your expertise here today. Guys, I highly recommend the training programs of Jason. Check it out, whichever uh, phase you're on, just check out the program so you can learn. And that's it. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Jason, again. And that's it for our masterclass on the freelancing your way to freedom. Bye.
Bye-bye.